My name is Margaret, and for 35 years, I thought I'd built the perfect family. I'm 62 now, sitting in my lawyer's office in downtown Portland, Oregon, watching the rain streak down the windows like tears I refuse to shed anymore. The gray November sky matches my mood perfectly, but there's something else mixed in with the sadness. A quiet strength I didn't know I possessed until recently. Let me take you back 6 months to when everything still seemed intact on the surface. My husband Robert and I raised 2 children in our modest but comfortable home in the Selwood neighborhood. Our son Brandon is 38, and our daughter Emma is 33. Robert worked as an engineer at Intel for decades, and I was a high school English teacher. We weren't wealthy, but we were comfortable. More importantly, or so I thought, we were close. Brandon always was the ambitious one. From the time he could walk, he wanted to be in charge of everything. His toys, his sister's toys, even the family dog's feeding schedule. Robert used to chuckle and say, "That boy's going to run a company someday." What we mistook for leadership, I now realize, was something darker. Control. Emma was different, quieter, more thoughtful. She became a social worker, dedicating her life to helping foster children find permanent homes. She never married, never had children of her own, but she loved deeply. Every holiday, every Sunday dinner, Emma would show up with flowers from the farmer's market and that gentle smile that could make any bad day better. Brandon married Veronica, a sharp-tongued woman who worked in pharmaceutical sales. They had 2 children, my grandchildren, Tyler, 15, and Madison, 12. On paper, Brandon had everything: a 6-figure job as a VP at a tech startup, a large house in the West Hills, private schools for the kids. But there was always something hungry in his eyes, something never quite satisfied. The trouble started subtly, the way most family disasters do. It began 2 years ago when Robert started showing signs of forgetfulness. At first, it was small things: misplaced keys, forgotten appointments. Then it progressed. He'd forget our grandchildren's names. He'd ask me the same question 5 times in an hour. The diagnosis of early-onset Alzheimer's came on a cold January morning, delivered by a neurologist at OHSU with sympathetic eyes and a box of tissues on her desk. I became Robert's full-time caregiver. The man who once solved complex engineering problems now needed help remembering to eat breakfast. My heart broke daily, but I did what needed to be done. Emma visited 3 times a week, sitting with her father, reading to him, giving me precious hours to shower, to breathe, to remember who I was beyond a caregiver. Brandon visited once a month, if that, always with an excuse: work deadline, kids' activities, traffic from the west side. But he always called. Oh, how he called. "Mom, have you thought about what's going to happen with the house?" he'd ask, his voice carefully casual. "I mean, with Dad's condition and everything, you should really think about planning ahead." "We have wills, Brandon," I'd reply, exhausted from another sleepless night of Robert wandering the hallway, confused and frightened. "Wills aren't enough, Mom. You need to think about trusts, about protecting assets. Veronica's cousin is an estate attorney. I could set up a meeting. I should have seen it then. But grief makes you stupid, makes you vulnerable." I was drowning in sadness, watching the man I'd loved for 40 years disappear piece by piece, and my son's concern felt like a lifeline. "Maybe," I'd say. "Let me think about it." The calls increased in frequency. Brandon started bringing Veronica, letting her explain in her polished sales voice about maximizing estate value and ensuring proper distribution. They'd sit in my living room, where Robert used to read the paper every morning, and talk about my life like it was a business transaction. Emma noticed before I did. "Mom, why is Brandon suddenly so interested in your finances?" she asked one April evening. We were in my kitchen, the room where I'd baked thousands of cookies, where I'd helped both my children with homework, where I'd kissed Robert goodbye every morning for decades. "He's just concerned, honey. With your father's condition, he never asks how Dad is doing," Emma interrupted, her usually soft voice firm. "He asks about the house, about your accounts, about what you've planned." "Mom, that's not concern. That's something else." I wanted to defend Brandon. He was my son, my firstborn. But Emma's words planted a seed of doubt that began to grow. Robert passed away in late May. It was peaceful as such things can be. He slipped away on a Thursday morning with sunlight streaming through the bedroom window and my hand holding his. Emma was there too, tears streaming down her face as she whispered, "I love you, Daddy." Brandon arrived 2 hours later, red-eyed but somehow controlled. He hugged me briefly, then immediately began making calls to the funeral home, to the lawyer, to the bank. At the time, I thought he was being helpful, taking charge when I was too shattered to function. The funeral was lovely. Emma had arranged everything according to Robert's wishes, a simple service at our church, followed by burial at Riverview Cemetery. Brandon gave an eloquent eulogy about what a great father Robert had been, though I couldn't help noticing he spent more time talking about the legacy Robert left than the man himself. The day after the funeral, Brandon came to my house with papers. "Mom, we need to talk," he said, setting his briefcase on my dining table, the same table where we'd eaten thousands of family dinners. "I've been going through Dad's documents. You're going to need help managing everything." I was still in that numb, post-grief fog where everything feels underwater. "Your father and I had everything organized, Brandon. Our lawyer, Martin Chen, handled Martin's old school, Mom. You need someone who understands modern estate planning. I've already talked to Veronica's cousin, Jason. He can restructure everything, make sure you're protected." Something in his tone made me focus. Protected from what? From making mistakes. "Mom, you're emotional right now. You're vulnerable. People take advantage of widows all the time." He pulled out papers, spreading them across the table. "I've drawn up power of attorney documents. This way, I can help manage your finances, make sure bills get paid, handle investments. I've been paying bills for 40 years, Brandon." His smile was patient, the kind you'd give a confused child. "Of course, but Dad always handled the investments, the big decisions. You shouldn't have to worry about that now. Just sign here, and I'll take care of everything." I looked at the papers, my vision still blurry from crying. And then I heard Emma's voice from the doorway. "Don't sign anything, Mom." Brandon's face transformed, just for a second, but I saw it. The patient son disappeared, replaced by something cold and calculating before the mask snapped back into place. "Emma, this doesn't concern you," he said smoothly. "It absolutely concerns me." Emma walked into the room, her social worker training evident in her calm, firm demeanor. "Mom, those documents give Brandon complete control over your finances. You wouldn't be able to make any major decisions about your own money without his approval. It's for her protection." Brandon's voice rose. "You work with troubled kids, Emma. You don't understand high-level financial planning. Mom needs professional management." "What Mom needs," Emma said quietly, "is time to grieve, not to make major legal decisions 3 days after burying her husband." The argument that followed was ugly. Brandon accused Emma of being jealous, of trying to manipulate me for her own gain. Emma stayed calm, simply repeating that I should consult my own lawyer before signing anything. Finally, Brandon grabbed his papers and left, slamming the door so hard the family photos on the wall rattled. I sat at the table, shaking. "Emma, what just happened?" She sat beside me, taking my hand. "Mom, I need you to be honest with me. What exactly did Dad leave? What are we talking about in terms of assets?" So I told her. The house, paid off years ago, now worth about $650,000 in Portland's inflated market. Robert's 401k and pension, totaling around $800,000. Our savings, another $200,000. Life insurance, $500,000. In total, roughly $2.15 million. Emma's face went pale. "Mom, that's a lot of money." "It's everything your father and I worked for our entire lives," I said. "It's supposed to take care of me and then be split between you and Brandon when I'm gone." "And Brandon knows this?" I nodded slowly, understanding dawning with cold clarity. "He helped us review our finances last year. He knows everything." Emma stood up, pacing my kitchen. Outside, the late May evening was turning the Portland sky rose and gold, beautiful and oblivious to the ugliness unfolding in my home. "Mom, I need to tell you something I've been afraid to say. Brandon's been asking me about your assets for months. He's been trying to figure out how much we stand to inherit. But it's not we, Mom. Every time he talks, it's about what he's going to do with the money. He's never once mentioned that you might live another 30 years. He's never asked if you're financially secure." The truth settled over me like a cold blanket. My son, my firstborn child, saw me as an obstacle between him and money. I wanted to deny it, to defend him, but I couldn't. The evidence was too clear. The next morning, I called Martin Chen, our family lawyer. Martin was 70, getting ready to retire, but he'd handled our affairs for 25 years. I trusted him. Margaret, I'm so sorry about Robert, he said when I arrived at his office in downtown Beaverton. I was planning to call you next week to discuss the estate. Martin, I need you to be completely honest with me. If I had signed power of attorney over to Brandon, what would that mean? Martin's expression grew serious. He spent the next hour explaining. With full power of attorney, Brandon could access all my accounts, make investments, sell property, essentially control my entire financial life. While he'd legally be required to act in my best interest, proving otherwise would be nearly impossible unless I could demonstrate fraud. But surely you'd never sign something like that, Martin said. I told him about the papers Brandon brought. Martin's face darkened. Margaret, those documents were drawn up by someone who knows exactly what they're doing. This isn't overprotective concern. This is an attempt to control your assets. What should I do? Martin leaned back in his chair. First, don't sign anything without showing it to me. Second, I think we need to review your current estate plan. Robert's will was straightforward. Everything to you, then split equally between the children upon your death. Is that still what you want? I thought about Emma, visiting 3 times a week during Robert's illness, never once asking about money or inheritance. I thought about Brandon, barely showing up, but constantly calling about financial planning. I want to make some changes, I said slowly, but I need to understand something first. Can you investigate Brandon's financial situation? Discreetly? Martin nodded. I have a colleague who specializes in financial investigations. If Brandon's having money troubles, we can find out. 2 weeks later, Martin called me back to his office. Emma came with me at my request. What we learned was shocking. Brandon's tech startup had failed 6 months ago. He'd lost his job and most of his savings in company stock that became worthless. He'd been borrowing from credit cards, taking out loans against his house. He owed over $300,000, and his mortgage was 3 months behind. Veronica's pharmaceutical sales income was substantial, but not enough to maintain their lifestyle and cover Brandon's debts. He's desperate, Martin said simply. And desperate people do desperate things. He sees Mom's inheritance as his salvation, Emma said quietly. He's been planning this. I felt sick. How could I not have seen this? Because he's your son, Martin said gently, and he knew exactly how to manipulate your grief and vulnerability. That afternoon, I made decisions I never thought I'd have to make. With Martin's help, I created a new will and trust. The house, along with $500,000 in assets, would go to Emma. She'd also be named executor of my estate. Brandon would receive $100,000. Not nothing, but not enough to solve his financial crisis. The rest would go to my grandchildren's education trusts, which Emma would manage until they turned 25. Are you sure about this? Martin asked. Brandon will be furious. I'm sure, I said, though my heart was breaking. Emma has shown me who she really is. Brandon has shown me too. I have to protect what Robert and I built from being squandered on Brandon's bad decisions. We also put protective measures in place. I changed all my account passwords, added Emma as a joint account holder on my checking account, and explicitly revoked any potential claims Brandon might make about having power of attorney. But I didn't tell Brandon. Not yet. Some instinct told me to wait, to see what he'd do next. I didn't have to wait long. 2 weeks after signing the new documents, Brandon showed up at my house unannounced. It was a Saturday afternoon in June, the kind of perfect Portland day where the roses bloom and Mount Hood gleams in the distance. He walked in without knocking, something he'd never done before. Mom, we need to talk. Now. His voice was hard, nothing like my son. About what, Brandon? I went to your bank to help you set up automatic bill pay, and they told me I'm not authorized on your accounts. I thought we agreed I'd help manage your finances. We never agreed to that. You brought papers I didn't sign. His face flushed. Mom, you're not thinking clearly. You're grieving. You're alone. You're vulnerable. I'm trying to protect you. From what? From making my own decisions? From Emma. The words burst out of him. She's been poisoning you against me. Can't you see? She's never had money, never had success, and now she sees an opportunity to what, Brandon? To care for me? To visit me? To be there when I need her? My voice was rising despite myself. Your sister has never once asked me about money. You've asked me approximately 40 times in the last 6 months. Because I'm trying to help. Because I understand finance in a way she never will. Mom, you have significant assets. They need professional management. If you just let you what? Take control, make decisions for me, treat me like I'm incompetent? Brandon's mask finally shattered completely. You don't understand what you're doing. That money could be working for you, could be invested properly. Instead, you're sitting on it like a... He stopped, but the damage was done. Like a what, Brandon? Say it. He took a breath, trying to regain control. Mom, I'm going to be honest. I'm having some financial difficulties. The startup didn't work out, and I've got some debts. I need help. You're my mother. You're supposed to help me. There it was, the real truth, finally spoken out loud. Robert and I helped you through college, I said quietly. We helped with your wedding. We gave you $50,000 for the down payment on your first house. We bought thousands of dollars in school supplies for your children. We helped because we loved you, not because we owed you. That's different. You had money then. Dad was working. Now you're sitting on over $2 million that you don't even need. How do you know I don't need it? I'm 62 years old. I could live another 30 years. Long-term care costs $100,000 a year. Medical expenses could wipe out everything. That money needs to last my lifetime, Brandon, not fund your lifestyle. My lifestyle? His voice was bitter. You have no idea what it costs to maintain. A house you can't afford? Private schools you can't pay for? A life built on debt and appearances? I stood up, surprised by my own strength. Your father and I lived within our means. We saved for 40 years. That money represents every overtime shift he worked, every vacation we didn't take, every luxury we postponed. It's not a windfall for you to solve your problems. Brandon's face twisted with anger. You're going to give it all to Emma, aren't you? Little perfect Emma who never accomplished anything, who'll probably waste it on her foster kids. Get out of my house. This is my father's house. I have just as much right. This is my house. Your father left it to me, and I'm telling you to leave. We stared at each other, this stranger wearing my son's face. Finally, he grabbed his keys. You'll regret this, Mom. When you're old and alone, when Emma gets tired of playing the dutiful daughter, you'll remember who really tried to help you. He slammed the door so hard the frame cracked. I stood in my empty living room, shaking but somehow stronger than before. The house was silent, except for the ticking of the grandfather clock Robert's father had given us. I waited for the guilt, for the maternal instinct to call Brandon back, to fix things. It didn't come. Instead, I felt relief and sadness for what I'd lost. Not the son I had, but the son I'd imagined I had. Emma arrived an hour later. She'd been waiting nearby, knowing this confrontation was coming. She held me while I cried, not for Robert this time, but for Brandon, for the child he'd been, and the man he'd become. Did you do it? She asked. Did you change everything? Yes. Martin has everything documented. The house is yours. Most of the liquid assets are yours. Brandon gets enough to help, but not enough to enable his dysfunction. The rest goes to the grandchildren. Emma pulled back, eyes wide. Mom, I didn't ask for this. I didn't push you to. I know. That's exactly why I'm doing it. You loved your father and me without expectations. You showed up without demands. You earned this, Emma, not through manipulation, but through love. Over the next weeks, Brandon tried everything. First came angry calls, which I didn't answer. Then Veronica called, crying about how they'd lose their house, how the children would have to change schools. I felt sympathy for Veronica and my grandchildren, but I couldn't enable Brandon's choices anymore. Then came the threats of legal action, which Martin calmly explained would go nowhere. I was mentally competent. The documents were legal, and I had the right to distribute my assets as I wished. Finally came the guilt trips. Tyler, my 15-year-old grandson, called. Grandma, Dad says you hate us now. He says you're leaving us with nothing. That call hurt the most. Tyler, honey, I love you very much, but what's between your father and me is adult business. There's a trust fund for your education. Your dad knows about it even if he didn't tell you. You'll be taken care of. But Dad says, your father is going through a difficult time, and sometimes when people struggle, they don't tell the whole truth. Trust me when I say you're loved and you'll be okay. After hanging up, I called Martin. I want to add something to the education trusts. I want regular check-ins to make sure Tyler and Madison are actually seeing that money for college. Already done, Martin said. I anticipated that might be necessary. Now, sitting in Martin's office this gray November afternoon, I'm signing the final documents. Emma sits beside me, quiet and supportive as always. The rain continues its steady rhythm against the windows, and somewhere in the city, Brandon is living with the consequences of treating his mother's kindness as a resource to exploit. I won't pretend this doesn't hurt. Losing my husband, and then, in a different way, losing my son. It's almost more grief than one heart can hold. But I also know I did the right thing. Robert worked too hard. We sacrificed too much for our life savings to be squandered on Brandon's poor financial decisions and entitled expectations. As we leave Martin's office, Emma takes my arm. "Are you okay, Mom?" I look at her, really look at her. This daughter who chose a career helping others over making money, who showed up week after week during her father's illness, who never once asked for anything beyond my well-being. "I'm sad," I say honestly, "but I'm also okay. I'm protecting what matters, what your father and I built, and what you truly deserve." We walk to her car through the Portland rain, and somehow, despite everything, I feel lighter, free from the weight of manipulation, from the exhausting effort of pretending not to see the truth. Brandon made his choice when he decided to see my vulnerability as opportunity. I made mine when I decided that love without respect isn't really love at all. The house, the money, the security, it all goes to the child who never asked for it. And somehow, that feels exactly right. Robert would have understood. In fact, I think he'd approve. We raised our children to be independent and honest. Emma became both. Brandon became neither. As we drive through the city toward my home in Selwood, my home now, I remind myself, not just Robert's and mine, but truly mine, I think about the future. Maybe I'll travel. Maybe I'll volunteer. Maybe I'll just enjoy my roses and my books and the quiet peace of a life no longer held hostage to someone else's desperation. Brandon made his choices. Now I've made mine. And for the first time in months, despite the rain and the grief and the complicated reality of family love gone wrong, I feel something unexpected. Hope. The story of my marriage, my family, and my life doesn't end with betrayal. It transforms into something new. A second chapter where I choose dignity over guilt, where I protect what matters, and where I finally understand that sometimes the most loving thing a mother can do is refuse to enable her child's worst choices. Robert's legacy is secure. Emma's future is protected. And I, Margaret, at 62 years old, am finally learning that being a good mother doesn't mean being an endless well of resources for a child who only takes. Sometimes it means saying no. Sometimes it means changing everything. And sometimes that's exactly what love looks like.